The chamber was tense, buzzing with whispers and murmurs like bees trapped in a jar. Cameras clicked, pens scribbled, and every set of eyes was locked on the unfolding confrontation between two figures who couldn't be more different. On one side sat Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, with his trademark Southern charm, measured words, and old-fashioned wit. On the other was Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the fiery representative from New York, young, bold, and unafraid to laugh at her critics. It began innocently enough. A debate over spending, accountability, and policy. Kennedy, as always, asked pointed questions, his slow drawl disguising the sharp edge of his words. But when he paused to make a folksy analogy, one of those homespun comparisons that often caught opponents off guard, AOC leaned back in her chair, shook her head, and laughed. Her laughter echoed through the chamber, cutting across the seriousness of the moment. To her, it was a harmless chuckle at what she saw as outdated reasoning. To Kennedy, it was more than that. It was a dismissal not of him, but of the principles he stood for, and more importantly, of the people he represented. His eyes narrowed just slightly, not with anger, but with a quiet decision. The room fell silent as Kennedy leaned forward into the microphone. His voice was steady, calm, almost too calm. "Congresswoman," he said, "you're free to laugh at me. But before you do, maybe you should remember where you came from. Maybe you should think about your own grandfather." The name grandfather cut through the air like a blade. The smirk on AOC's face faded, and for the first time that afternoon, her eyes blinked with hesitation. She hadn't expected that. No one had. Kennedy didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Instead, he told a story many didn't know, one that pulled at the thread of humanity that often gets buried under the weight of political theater. He spoke of her grandfather, a hard-working man from Puerto Rico, a man who left behind comfort to give his children and grandchildren a chance at a better life. Kennedy recalled how her grandfather, like so many immigrants, had faced ridicule, poverty, and doubt, but refused to bow his head. He built a life with grit, not laughter, with humility, not arrogance, with respect, not mockery. The chamber grew still, even the reporters hungry for sound bites. "Stop typing." Kennedy's words were not meant to wound, they were meant to remind. "Your grandfather didn't work his fingers to the bone." Kennedy said slowly, just so his granddaughter could sit in the halls of Congress and laugh at the people she disagrees with. "He built something so you could stand tall, not look down on others. He wanted you to rise, not ridicule." AOC shifted in her seat. For a moment, her defiance cracked, and something softer showed through a mix of pride, shame, and the realization that the senator's words weren't about politics anymore. They were about legacy. They were about family. They were about respect. The air carried a weight, the kind of silence that demands reflection. No shouting, no interruptions, just raw truth lingering in the room. Kennedy leaned back, his point made. He didn't press further. He didn't gloat. He simply let the lesson sit there, heavy and undeniable. For the rest of that session, AOC was quieter. Not defeated, not silenced, but thoughtful. She carried the weight of Kennedy's words with her, perhaps more than she wanted to admit. Though her political instincts told her never to give her opponent a victory, her heart remembered the truth in what he had said. By the end of the day, the debate itself seemed almost forgotten. What lingered in the minds of those who had been present was not the policy points or the partisan jabs, but the reminder of something deeper, that politics at its core isn't about who wins the argument. It's about honoring those who came before, the sacrifices made by generations who dreamed of better. Kennedy had not humiliated her. He had done something far more powerful. He had called her back to her roots. That night, As headlines spread across television screens and social media, people debated fiercely. Some praised Kennedy for his wisdom. Others criticized him for striking a personal chord. But beyond the noise, ordinary Americans saw something rare, a moment when pride gave way to reflection, when the past reminded the present of its duty. And perhaps, in her own quiet moments, AOC thought of her grandfather, the man who had paved the road she now walked. Perhaps she realized that laughter can be sharp, but respect is stronger. The chamber would see many more debates, many more clashes of personality and politics. But that day remained etched in memory, not because one side won or lost, but because a Southern senator reminded a rising star that every name, every family, every story carries weight. And in the end, respect like Legosio lasts laughter.